my history when it comes to Gulf War illness. Now, this is just talking about me. I know there's a lot more Gulf War veterans. There's over 200,000 of us that are going through similar issues and so on. But I'm going to give you a background on me. I was deployed during the first Gulf War, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Did my job over there. We got it accomplished. It was a short war. However, once I got back, I started to notice several things changing. Several things were going on with me. Headaches, nausea, not vomiting, but nausea, diarrhea, heart palpitations. I heard I was reading article through Army Times, the Army Times, talking about Gulf War syndrome. Several veterans complained about health issues and so forth. So I was like, okay, some of this stuff sounds kind of familiar. It kind of sounds on par, aligned with what was going on with me. So I had a PGI examination done, Pacific Gulf Illness examination done, and I figured, let me get checked out. Let me have them check it out. Do some blood tests, whatever, and see if maybe I have this thing. So they ran all kinds of tests, blood tests, all kinds of X-rays, and you got to get all kinds of whatever stuff. Now, keep in mind, back then, these people had no idea what Gulf War syndrome or Gulf War illness, Gulf War syndrome was, right? So you're trying to give a test based on what you don't know, to see if there's any kind of abnormalities, right? I'm not a doctor. I was not a doctor, so, they ran their tests, and once they came back and said, hey, everything's fine, everything looks normal, back then, I said, okay, I guess I don't have this Gulf War syndrome stuff. I blew it off, threw it over my shoulder, and said, that's not me, that's not my problem. Anyway, later on, I kept on hearing more veterans complain about Gulf War syndrome, and then since I pretty much disposed of that, got that out of my head, I started thinking of these veterans complaining about all these ailments. I started to think of them as a bunch of whiners trying to milk the system, whatever. They were trying to get disability and just milk the system. So I was like, oh, you guys need to just shut up, quit whining. I went over there, I'm fine, and so is everybody else. So I blew it off. My ailments, the ailments that I was having, they would tend to come, for example, the headaches and indigestion, nausea. They would come, compared to what they are now, they were very mild. However, they would come for weeks at a time, and then they would go away. And I would be fine for months, weeks, months, nothing. Felt perfectly fine, Chronic fatigue syndrome. While still on active duty, I started getting joint and muscle pain. The first time I noticed it, I was at BNOC, it's a NCO academy, and I had my arms sitting on the rail. I was talking to a friend of mine that was down in the parking lot, and I had my arms rested on the railing, and it hurt. It felt like my arm was going to snap, right? And I was like, what is wrong? Working on active duty, I started getting knees and joint pains and muscle pains, and I figured, okay, I'm starting to get arthritis. I'm starting to come down with arthritis. So I had tests run on that. And they came back and said, no, you don't have arthritis. So I once again ignored it. I wanted to do the rest of my time on active duty, do 20 plus years active duty. However, because of the pains that I was having, the health problems I was having, I ended up transferring to National Guard. I didn't complete out the rest, my entire 20 on active duty. I finished it off in the National Guard because I figured, okay, if I start to complain too much, the Army's going to find something. It's going to be something small. They're going to kick me out with a small medical disability, and I was not willing to accept that and throw away my military pension. So that's why I transferred over to National Guard. So at least this way I could finish up the rest of my time in the National Guard, and I would be guaranteed my military pension at least once I turned 60 years old. Okay, fast forward. So, as time goes on, little by little, these symptoms started manifesting more often and more intense. And the biggest problem I was having at the time was headaches. The headaches were constant, intense, and diarrhea. Irritable bowel syndrome I didn't know what was going on with me. So I figured, okay, let me focus on the worst condition. Let me focus on the headaches. So I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. They tried steroid shots. They tried Botox injections. They shot up steroid shots in my spine, my neck, the back of my skull. They tried electrical implants where they shoved wires in the back of my scalp, physical therapy, all kinds of stuff. And each time I went to one doctor, he or she would run out of ideas and throw their hands up in the air and say, okay, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you. I've run out of ideas, so I'm going to refer you over to the next person. I started to question things. Why is it I'm going to all these doctors? Why is it they're doing all these blood tests and all these, doing x-rays, MRIs, and, what is it that they're missing that they cannot explain? Why is this guy all messed up like this? Why is this guy having, diarrhea all the time? Why is he having these headaches all the time? I'm going to share some of this stuff with you guys. After going to many doctors and not being able to figure out what was going on with me, I ended up buying this microscope right here. And as you can see, it has a camera right there that attaches to the computer. One of the things that I remember telling my doctor is I was deployed. Maybe I was exposed to some kind of virus, parasite. I even asked, one of the things I even asked, maybe there's some kind of parasite living in me that you guys are not seeing. I get sick, I get the flu or whatever, real easy. Very easy. And once it gets hold of me, all these symptoms tend to intensify. The fibromyalgia, the IBS, everything just becomes 10 times worse, right? It's like my immune system was totally compromised. So here I am thinking, oh, great, I came down with AIDS, right? I got tested, requested to be tested, and it came back negative. So I'm thinking, okay, why is it I get sick so easy? It lingers around longer than normal people. So I went and bought this microscope, figuring, okay, I'll start taking samples, I'll start to take samples, blood samples, stool samples, urine samples, whatever it takes. Maybe I could see something, compare those pictures with what should be normal, And this way I could start taking pictures of this stuff. If I saw something that just looked abnormal, I could take pictures of this, take it to a doctor and say, see, what is this? Now that's funny because, I went to a doctor one time, explaining about the microscope, and his rude comment was, oh, you're a microbiologist now, right? I looked at him and I said, okay, well, I explained my history and I said, okay, so far, none of you doctors, none of you medical professionals have been able to tell me this is what's wrong with you. This is why you're sick. So what am I supposed to do? Geez, if you can't find it, then by all means, I need to take it into my own hands, do my own research, and try to figure out what is wrong with Glenn. It wasn't until 2010 I started researching my symptoms and so on, and one thing that kept on popping up was Gulf War syndrome, right? I would plug it in, Google in, and Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War syndrome. And then I ran into a veterans page, Anthony Hardy, and I started reading through some of his articles, and I was amazed at how similar everything that he was saying was in par with what was happening to me. So after comparing notes, looking at the articles, backtracking, looking at my medical records, that's when I started to realize, okay, Glenn, your problem is you have Gulf War syndrome. Now with Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War illness, the problem with it is the fact that it's not one ailment. It's not one. You have, for example, ALS. You're dealing with ALS, right? With Gulf War illness, you have multiple ailments, several. And the thing is, each veteran is different. Each veteran, how it affects each veteran, we have a lot of things that are in common. We have a lot of ailments that are in common, like fibromyalgia and so on, right? However, how it affects us is different from each one of us. They have irritable bowel syndrome, a lot of diarrhea and so on, but the way it manifests itself, the stomach bloat and so on, it's different in each case. Anyway, I'm going to run through some of this stuff real quick. Mental cognition is a huge problem with a lot of us. I have a video posted on that, and when it comes to mental cognition, I have to use a whiteboard, as you can see right here. I use this whiteboard, and a lot of times when I go out shopping or whatever, I have a to-do list, whatever it may be, I'll have to use my smartphone to take a picture of that, take a picture of that whiteboard so that I don't forget. And that includes everything from doing laundry to washing dishes, but I'll forget that. Are those clean or dirty? So as you can see down there below, I have a little flip card that lets me know whether the dishes in the dishwasher are dirty or clean. Alright, so going to the next slide, tumors. Tumors are very common in Gulf War veterans. This is one that they removed from the middle of my spine. Good thing this one wasn't cancerous. They were able to remove it. The doctor, when he cut me open, he was amazed how deep. It was on top of my skin, but it was actually embedded into the spine. These are the records that I received I have 3 3-inch binders that I received from the VA because after many of appeals, I've been dealing with them for years, trying to get my claims appealed. But they kept on denying my claims over and over and over again, and finally I got sick and tired of them, and I said, okay, I need a copy of every record you have so I can try to figure out what is it you are missing. What, is it your incompetence, your stupidity? Are you blatantly disregarding data? Because according to every record that I submitted, there was enough evidence in there from active duty medical records to prove my case. Skin condition. I'm going to try to... Once returning from the Gulf War, I started getting these bumps all over my skin. I mean, it covers pretty much my entire body. There's a closer picture of the skin condition. You can see all these little bumps. This is like all over the place. Here's another one. Another thing I tend to get, they have me on prednisone on a needed basis, and it's a steroid. Now, here's one thing that's interesting. For some reason, on my left eye, right above my eyebrow, I tend to get this inflammation, and it hits me just like that within minutes. I mean, all of a sudden I feel an itch. It's not a bug bite. I've had several doctors look at it, and they could not find any evidence of a bug bite. It itches like crazy. If I so much as touch it, not scratch it, but just touch it, it will swell up, as you see in this picture. And what happens when it swells up, if I scratch it, it will take and travel. It will travel from this eyebrow. It always takes the exact same path. It goes from here down to the inside of my eyebrow to the nose bridge right here, works its way down to the nostril, then down to the lip, the upper lip outside here, then goes across, and then down to my bottom lip. But it's just very, very strange that it always happens, same location, same, and it always takes the exact same path. Not one single doctor has been able to tell me why that happens. To this day, I have no idea. I don't know. Looking at this picture, this was a trial period for an electrical stimulator. I mean, keep in mind, I have tried many things, steroid, Botox, the whole 9 yards. So what they end up doing is they shove these wires up the back of your scalp right there. They shove them up, and you have a stimulator on your side that sends electrical impulses through the scalp. Fakes your brain out to think that you're not in pain. It did help. It didn't get rid of the problems, but it did really help with a lot of the headaches and the pain in my shoulder and the back of my neck. However, insurance would not cover that. United Healthcare refused to do a full implant. I appealed it over and over again, and they absolutely refused. That's right there is where the wires were leading into the back of my neck up to my scalp area. So you can, right there, you can see it. That's the electrical stimulator implant. Here's a better picture of the skin condition, and as you can see right there, you can see all those little bumps right there. Here's a lighter picture of the skin condition, and that's all over my legs, my stomach, so far it really hasn't spread on my forearms. My forearms and from my neck up are pretty clear, but everything else, needless to say, I don't like going to the beach. I'm very self-conscious about going to the beach. Here's another picture of the inflammation, the swelling. You can see right there, right above the eyebrow where it begins. Mucus, IBS. Talk about bowel movements. It's never the same consistency, and I can have a solid movement one day and totally liquefied the next day. However, one thing that I'm constantly having is, and I don't want to gross you guys out, if you want to turn your head over, is this mucus-like substance that secretes often. We go walking around. For example, when I go to the zoo and I take my grandkids to the zoo, while everybody's looking around, looking at the exhibits, looking at the different animals, yes, I look. However, as I'm walking along, I'm also scoping out the next bathroom. So my trips tend to be short. So it's from point A to bathroom B, to bathroom C, to bathroom D, and so forth. All right. This stuff comes out of us, at least me, all the time, constantly. Right. So whenever I go walking around, I tend to take a couple of extra paper towels with me, the half ones, and I will fold them up and put them in between, you know where. I put them in my drawers, so just in case, to be safe. But what's funny about talking about mucus, I'll change the picture. I know that grosses you guys out. Talking about mucus, what is kind of strange is one thing I have noticed suffering from Gulf War illness. A lot of times I tend to get this like mucus-like substance, and it's clear in the eyes. You know how you get, your sand in your eyes or whatever. A lot of times I get this like it almost feels like a lubricant, but it oozes from inside of my eyes. And it's clear, it's not tears. I know what tears feel like. It's kind of watery, a little bit thicker than water, but this one's actually thicker. It has a thicker consistency. Wax in the ears, I don't have. Whenever I use a Q-tip or whatever, clear fluid comes out of there. That's all that comes out of there. I don't get wax. Whenever my IBS tends to act up, right, a lot of times I get this like a slimy substance that just constantly oozing out of my mouth, and it's not saliva, because it does not have the same consistency as saliva. I know what saliva feels like. That's not it. One day, I took, just out of curiosity, my stomach was acting up, and I wanted to see, okay, how much of this stuff comes out of me? How much of this goo can I produce? And I sat there with a glass, and I just constantly just spat it into the glass. And sure enough, I produced about that much of that stuff. And it wasn't mute, it wasn't phlegm. You know, you get sick, you get phlegm, and it's kind of yellowish, greenish, and so on. It wasn't. It was clear. It was just slime, mucus, like snot. Another thing about Gulf War syndrome, talking about mental cognition, I know a lot of Gulf War veterans go through this. We have severe mental cognition problems. I have a video loaded on YouTube where I discuss that. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but, however, this is one thing I want to keep the general public to keep in their mind. Another thing, Gulf War illness, when it comes to Gulf War illness, you talk about pain. The pain we go through is intense. We're talking about intense pain. We're talking about pain so intense that some veterans are actually committing suicide. Some of them are putting the gun to their heads and shooting themselves. Now, think about this. I'm not saying I would do this. I would not harm another person. I would not harm myself. I refuse to commit suicide. But I want the general public to think about this because, you know, in essence, you have a whole bunch of ticking time bombs out there, right? You got a whole bunch of veterans that are sick, in pain, dying from Gulf War illness, health problems related to Gulf War illness. Now, if they're in that much pain where they feel like there is no more hope, there's nothing nobody can do for me. You know, the VA is not going to help me. Doctors are not going to help me. Nobody's going to help me, right? So I might as well just off myself. Now think about, a lot of them have been fighting the VA for many years, like myself. A lot of them start to grow a resentment, a hatred, because of what is going on with the Veterans Administration not getting help with them. An estimated 35 veterans die every day while waiting for the VA to cut the red tape while they wait on the claims. Now think about it. You wait for years and years and years trying to get help from the VA. And over time and time and time again, you have the VA constantly tell you, no. What do you think is going to happen? Some of them, yes, they're going to end up taking their own life. A lot of them will die due to health problems related to Gulf War illness. But now, think about this. This is the scary thought. What happens to the ones who say, you know what, I'm not going down like this. I'm going to commit suicide, but damn it, I'm taking somebody with me. I don't condone this action. Let's get that clear. I don't condone it. I'm against it. However, when your brain is not working right like it should, right? And you're constantly getting slapped in the face by the Veterans Administration, constantly turn around and tell you, oh, it's a mental condition, get out of my face, shut up, deny, deny, deny. How much can a person take? However, as time goes by and I hear these stories from veterans getting denied over and over and over again, I get scared. I get scared and I keep thinking, man, somebody's going to flip out and they're going to do something just insane. All right? And I really don't want that. Veterans Administration, get off the bull crap. Number one, you know Gulf War illness is real. You know Gulf War illness is real. About time you started engaging in research to figure out what is going on here. Because from my research, this stuff is getting passed on to the general population. It's starting to happen, and believe me, it's not only going to affect Gulf War vets. You think this is confined to Gulf War vets? Years down the road, you'll see. You will be able to go back 10, 20 years from now and say, look at my video and look at the part where I say, I told you so. This is going to spread out. Look at Dr. Nichols' research concerning when it comes to mycoplasma. All right. Anyway, cut the red tape. Start and get involved with research, finding what's going on with our bodies and finding ways to treat it. Number 2, when a Gulf War veteran submits a claim, quit playing the games, approve the claim. It is your responsibility to prove otherwise. We should not have to go through years, not weeks, not days, weeks, months, years. We should not have to go through years in total agony waiting for you guys to turn around and approve a claim which you know is real. The scientific data is there. Go Google it. If you're that stupid about it, go Google it. This is what IBS sounds like. And this is not using a stethoscope or anything like that. That's just a plain old cell phone. Symptomologies. One of the things I get, I was talking to a veteran at a local VA clinic, and the first time I noticed neurological damage was, I remember years ago, I kept on getting a twitching on my bottom eyelid, right? It would just twitch like crazy, I would sit there rubbing in, like knock it off, and nothing would get rid of it, It didn't matter what I do, it would just twitch. All I had to do, all I could do was just wait it out. That was it. Well, the twitching in the eye finally stopped, right? However, it started working its way down my arm and down my leg. Now it's mostly confined to my leg, my thigh, and my calf muscle, right? If you go to my YouTube videos, I have one video in there that shows it, but my calf muscle would just twitch away. And it was kind of funny because I was talking to a veteran at the local VA clinic here, and he had no idea that he was suffering Gulf War. We got to talking about symptoms and so on, right? And I talked about neurological damage, and I asked about twitching in the leg and so on, and he told me, yes, I get it on my left leg, right? And it was kind of odd because of the fact that I said, well, the first time I ever noticed the neurological issue was I started getting the twitching, and I went like this, like I was going to point to my eye. And just as I did that, I didn't complete my sentence. He turned around just as I raised my finger like this. He put his finger to his eye, and he said, my left eye. It's kind of funny. Exact same left eye, exact same left twitching, exact same calf. He gets the twitching on his left calf exactly like mine. But it just struck me very odd. It's like, what are the chances of that? Me going like this, and he over to like my eyelid. Okay. Another thing we talked about, me and this veteran, was the fact that I tend to get this shooting pain, and a lot of times it'll hit me in the gut area, but most of the time it shoots out from like the middle of my spine, my shoulder, and right into my skull, right inside there. And it shoots off most of the time the left side, and it concentrates on my right eye. It just hits like a bolt of lightning, and when it hits, it kind of feels like somebody's taking a corkscrew and just twisting that thing right in your eye socket. And now, the thing is, I've talked to many Gulf War veterans, and every single one I've talked to, every single one I have talked to, face to face, have told me they get the same thing. Going back to, real quick, neurological damage. One thing that struck me on was once the twitching started going to my outer thigh, I started realizing it. I'm walking around, I have my cell phone in my car, I have shorts with the cargo pockets on, and I would put my phone in my pocket, and it would feel like the phone vibration was going off. Somebody was calling me. So I pull out my phone and look at it like, nobody called. Put it back in there. 2 seconds later, you feel that electrical shock, that vibration going off. Pull it out again. Nobody's calling me. Right? So sometimes I would get so frustrated, like, what the heck is the problem? I thought it was a defect with my cell phone. Turns out, no, it's not. No, it wasn't. Because it didn't matter what I put in my pocket, I still felt that vibration. It could have been a pack of cards, put it in my cargo pocket, and I would still get that feeling like something was just vibrating in my pocket. I still get it in my thigh. Matter of fact, sometimes I even get it in the palm area of my foot. I mean, it goes through my entire leg. Pain. Most enjoyed pain. I already talked about that. The neck area. I tend to get this pain in the neck area right by the Adam's apple, and it feels like somebody has their fingers jabbed right there in there. Right? The more sleep I get, the more sleep I get, the less problem I have with it. Lack of sleep, the more intense it tends to get. But anyway, if you want to know what it feels like, have somebody take their thumbs right at the bottom of the Adam's apple, right on the side, and shove their fingers in there. You're going to hit your spine from the front. You'll hit your spinal cord, right? When you feel it, and you feel like, okay, you feel the pressure is strong enough where it's starting to affect your vision, that is when you will know what kind of pain I feel every day. That's every day, throughout the entire day. The only thing that changes is how intense. That's all that changes. It never goes away. Chronic fatigue syndrome, that's another problem with Gulf War veterans. We get that a lot. Everything makes us tired. I mean, just the simple task of taking a shower. I go to take a shower, dry off, and by the time I'm done taking the shower, I'm exhausted. I have to sit down. Cleaning house. If I vacuum the living room, I can vacuum the living room. That's it. Then I have to sit down and I have to take a break. Flu-like symptoms, the best that I can describe, a lot of times for no reason whatsoever, I start to run the temperature just out of the blue. I wake up and I'm fine and whatever. I mean, I'm better than normal. I could feel like, oh crap, this is a great day. And so on. Within like 2 hours, next thing you know, it just hits me. Less than 2 hours. It could be within an hour. All of a sudden, I start feeling like crap. IBS is acting up, mental cognition. I'm starting to feel loopy and so on. And then next thing you know, I take my temperature for no reason. I have a temperature of 99 or 100. I go lay down, take a nap. I go lay down and I take a nap, and guess what? Fever's gone. Now, explain that. I would like to see a medical doctor explain that, because I've asked a couple of doctors about that, and not one has been able to tell me why does that happen. And it happens at least once a week. Anyway, I know this has gone on long enough, and if anybody has questions, you're welcome to look at the YouTube channels. If you're Gulf War veterans, you have videos, photos, whatever that you want uploaded to the channel, send me an email. I would be glad to post your story, your family story, your videos, whatever it is. I would be glad to post it on this so that people can see this stuff, so that people, the general public, can get educated and see what is going on with us. And hopefully, with the general public seeing this, they can start getting behind us, contacting their elected officials and saying, hey, you guys need to knock this off. Enough's enough. You need to take care of those young men, old men and old ladies once, But anyway, hopefully we can get the general public to start harassing these people, harassing the elected senators, congressmen, calling the VA, saying, hey, chop, knock it off. Y'all need to quit playing these little games. Give those people some help. Anyway, if you need to get a hold of me, my email address, it's gulfwarillness1@gmail.com. That's all one word, gulfwarillness1@gmail.com. This is the Gulf War Illness Advocacy Year. This is the end of the red tape wars. This is the beginning, and this is the end of it. This is the year we put a stop to this nonsense. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and you're more than welcome to get a hold of me via email. If you need my phone number, contact me via email. Thank you.